Welcome to Coffee Talk. I'm Amy.
And I'm Liz.
And we are so excited to answer all of your questions. This is a follow-up to our 2018 Women's Conference, Shattered to Whole, where a panel of ladies got together and shared our hearts and our testimonies and our stories about how God has really been working through our lives, specifically with brokenness and the healing process. And Miss Liz here shared an amazing testimony with us on how God actually healed her from AIDS. Yes, you heard me right. I said AIDS. And you guys sent in a bunch of questions that you wanted us to ask her because you wanted to know more about her story. So, Liz, are you ready to share more about your story? All right. So you talked, when we were doing our conference, you talked about how you were in the hospital and how God had spoken several things to you about the blood transfusion and about the wisdom from the doctors and the medicine that had just come out. That was a trial medicine, and that just so happened to work for you.
Yes.
But the women wanted to know, how did God specifically heal you? Was it a combination of all of these things? Exactly how did the healing take place is what they want to know.
Okay, it took place mostly by the word.
Amen.
Amen. I spoke those scriptures. I actually got, I don't know if I can do this, but I got Charles Capps and Kenny Copeland scriptures on healing. And I spoke those words. When I went to sleep at night, I spoke, by Jesus Christ, I am healed.
Wow.
And I said,
goosebumps.
and I said, no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Amen.
I said, this is a weapon, this virus that's in my body, it's a weapon against my health.
Wow.
And my father said that I should have good health and I should live a long life.
Wow.
So this weapon, you got to die.
Right? Because
In fact, I said, germs and disease, you got to die. You cannot live in my body.
Ooh, amen.
I said, because by the grace and mercy of God,
Right.
my red blood cells and
Right.
my white blood cells, you multiply.
Right.
And I even started the medicine. I was taking the medicine too. But this is what I was saying about the medicine. I said, I take this medicine by faith.
Amen.
But when it comes down to the right time, I won't have to take it no more.
That's right.
You know,
right.
because there was side effects with that medicine.
Right.
And
it was I said trial, but it wasn't a trial. It was a brand new medicine that they weren't even sure was going to work.
Right.
Because it wasn't, because it hadn't
just
been put out there yet.
Right,
Okay,
right.
okay.
And so I took, and I said, and this is what I said. And I said, medicine, you love my body.
Liz is a woman of faith, and we love that because faith without works is dead, right?
Yes,
so you
is.
claim it in faith, and then you take the medicine, and that was your work.
Yes, that was my work.
That's awesome.
And it went from 6. My viral load went from 6. My immune system went from 6 to, I remember, from 6 to 32 to 136, then up to 500.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And the viral load continued to go down,
Wow.
down, until it was undetectable. It wasn't there anymore.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
That it is a miracle, and it is the word.
It was the word. It was the word. Even my doctor's going, and she even said, that medicine must love your body because you're not having no side effects, no anything.
Wow.
And it's supposed to make you tired and sleepy. I couldn't deal with tired and sleepiness. I had too much stuff to do.
Right? I don't have time to be sick, Lord. Nobody had time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. We need to move on. That is amazing. That is a miracle in itself. But a lot of the women wanted to know. They were asking questions. You had shared that you got the virus from your husband,
Mm-hmm.
and you were absolutely completely shocked. that you had gotten the virus from your
Mhm.
husband.
Mhm.
But they wanted to know, did your husband ever say anything, like, looking back? Can you recall, like, any kind of a red flag? Like, did he ever say anything while you guys were dating, or anything in the first part of your marriage that would have even led you to think that he had a lifestyle that would have brought about this kind of a virus at some point?
No, not at all, because he was sort of like shocked, sort of surprised. He did mention that he used to have rough sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, oh, okay. So I did ask, are you a homosexual, you know, or
Mhm.
anything? And he said, no, we just used to have rough sex. But Liz, I didn't have that much sex with. I can count the women on my hands on who
Right.
I went out with.
Right.
So he said it must have been one of them.
It just takes one. Right,
Mhm.
right. Okay,
Mhm.
and then they wanted to know, how did you have the strength to actually believe your husband? Because your marriage, it didn't end until he
Mhm.
passed away.
He passed
So
away.
you stayed with him through
Mhm.
all of this.
My husband and I had developed a ministry together, and it was really that ministry that kept us together during that time, because we was working with the at-risk youth. We had a youth ministry, and that's what really kept us going, was that and prayers. And
Did he seek treatment?
huh?
Did he seek treatment?
He didn't seek treatment because he didn't believe in the medicine. He was in denial for so long.
Okay, okay.
For so long he was in denial.
Right, right.
And then I told him, you have to go and get yourself checked out. You have to do that.
Right.
So he finally went and got himself checked out. And when he did got himself checked out, it was really too late, and he really didn't want that medicine. And we couldn't find the medicine really,
Mhm.
because we really didn't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And what kept him alive as long as he did live was because of my prayers.
Amen. Well, God spoke a word to you, right?
Yes.
About you were here for your husband. What was that?
That word was that I was to prepare him to come home to him.
Oh, amen.
Yes.
Amen.
And it was something, because my husband's knew that too, because he asked, what did God tell you about me? And that's when I told him, I said, because God had told me, said, stop praying for him to, because what I told God was, God, wait a minute. I know you can heal him. You raised Lazarus from the dead.
Right.
So I know you can heal my husband.
Right.
I said, like the way he was when I first met him. And he said, well, Liz, when you first met him, he had the virus. But he says, because of your love for him, it's what keeping him to move, to go forth now. And he's learning more about my love for him as well, through you loving him.
Aww.
And we did. It was like we were so in tune with one another like this.
You were really one.
We were really one. I would think it, and he would do it.
Aww.
He would do it, and I'll be thinking it. I mean, sometimes he would even know where I am without I even telling him where I am.
Right.
It's like, that's how well we just knew each other.
Yes.
And it's like, for us, it was a marriage, it was like a marriage in heaven. It was like, I had never met anybody like him before in my life.
Wow.
Because he had developed a very, very close relationship with the Lord as well.
Right.
By that time, you know.
Right.
So he was just believing, well, God, you're going to heal me from this.
Right.
But not knowing that he got to do something about it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And his healing came when he entered the pearly gates.
Yes, when he entered the pearly gates.
His healing did come.
He
so
did.
I think a lot of times.
And that's what God said. I'm giving him the ultimate healing.
Amen.
Because he already did what he was.
Right.
He always said, my whole purpose is to marry you, Liz.
Aww,
Yeah.
sweet.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's what every woman wants to hear.
I know.
But I think a lot of times we get we get confused because we get so trapped in our own mindset of how we think God should do things, what God should do, how He should do it. that we don't realize his ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. And, you know, and God's plan for his healing was to bring him home. But God's plan for you was to be healed while you were still here because he had a greater work for you to continue.
That's the other part too. He was saying that my husband always spoke. He said, I don't think you realize the power you walk in. And it's like he was depositing faith in me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's where I had been like abused by my stepfather, been abused by my ex-husband, and this was the first man that really came along and had that word of God in him, and he was depositing it in me at the same time I was depositing it in him.
Yeah.
So it was like he was saying, I don't think you realize the power you're walking in, Liz. And he sort of like built that faith in me. It was like a transitioning.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? He was like transitioning, because it was like my husband could speak things, which is I'm finding that I can be able to do too now. But he could speak those things and it would happen almost like immediately. It's like, wow. And I would just look at him and go, wow.
The power of the word. When you speak
the
the
word.
thing that lines, when you speak something that lines up with the word, it has power and it just manifests.
It just manifests. So what I saw was I was falling in love with his spirit. Instead of, although he was a good-looking man,
Right.
I fell in love with that spirit.
Right.
Mostly.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Now we talked about this during the conference, but I just want to reiterate this because I feel like it is such a powerful point. Her husband was a fine man, okay? He was fine. And she waited to consummate their marriage until they were actually married. So I just want to put that back out there because I think that's an amazing testimony. Amazing testimony. And it wasn't like she didn't know what she was missing out on because you had been married before.
Yes.
And she'd also waited in that marriage too. So I'm just throwing that back out there, ladies. It can be done. It can be done. All right, we have another question on here for you. The ladies wanted to know, you talked briefly about this, but they kind of wanted some more detail about what was the vision that God had given you. So God had given you a vision about 20 years ago. It was prior to getting sick. It was prior to all of this happening. And it was just here recently that the 20-year mark hit. And God's vision for you has come to pass and is being fulfilled. So they wanted you to elaborate a little bit more about that. And that's probably part of why God healed you from AIDS. So this prophecy that he spoke over you, that vision could come to pass. So can you just kind of retell us about that a little bit, expand a little bit on that?
Yes, that vision is a job training center for at-risk youth who had been in the juvenile detention center. He told me he wanted me to go in. Let me tell you how he did that.
So this was 20 years ago. He spoke this to you.
He spoke that to me.
All right.
And he shared with me, he said, I want you to go into the juvenile, into the prison. He said, I want you to go into jail and I want you to do a ministry to the men. And I go, what? What?
Excuse me, Lord.
That's exactly what I said. I go, no, Lord. That ain't you. That ain't you. What would it look like for a woman to go in there and do prison ministry to men? Men prison ministry? Right. Oh, no. That's not you, Lord. Lord, that's not you. No way. And the Lord just left. He just left it alone. He didn't say no more to me until he visited me in a dream. The dream was so vivid. And you know, I have two sons, and you know, I love my two sons. Oh my gosh, I'll be honest with you. At that point, after my the relationship, trying to avoid that relationship with my stepfather, and then getting married, and he was abusive, mentally abused. He was an alcoholic, and it was like I had gotten to the point that I was like sick of men. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
It's like, don't look at me, don't touch me, don't even come near me.
Right. I can't imagine.
You. I hate you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I had kept myself as a virgin to
Yeah.
marry this man.
Right.
And then in fact, he went on my wedding night, he actually told me, my first husband, he actually told me, I got it now. I don't have to do anything that I was doing. All that I did to get you.
So hard.
It was, oh my gosh, it was such pain. And I was going, oh my gosh, God, I don't want to go through that again.
No.
And so it was like I had made up my mind that I did not want to have no more dealing with any more men.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it was then. So when he told me to go in to minister to men, it was like, no way.
Right. I can imagine.
No
Yeah, I
way.
can imagine that would have to have been hard.
And in fact, I said, if they in jail, that's where they belong. And I'm not going in there. That's it.
Yep.
And so,
He's a big God. He can take our honesty.
mhm.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, at the same time, like I said, I love my sons. Oh my gosh, they were my heart,
Yeah.
They were going to be mighty men of God.
Amen.
You understand what I'm saying? They're going to be mighty men of God. So, in the dream, I was walking up the street and I saw this big glass business building. It was a business and it was glass and you could see through it. But in the middle of that glass building sit my son. My oldest son, he had just went off to college, to George Mason University. And I saw him in there, sitting in that building, and it was change on his arms and on his legs, and he was being interrogated by the policemen. And I was going, oh my gosh, that's my son. Oh my gosh, God, that's my son. And I went running up to that building, and when I touched the door, it turned to a prison. It was all cement. I went running around it, and everything I was touching was turning to cement.
Oh my gosh.
And then I found it, left a little window, and I climbed all the way in the dream to the top of the window, and I stopped hitting on that window. That's my son, Lord. Get my son out of that. That's my son.
Wow.
And that's when I heard the Lord spoke. He said, your son is in college where he's supposed to be. But Liz, I have many sons in prison
Oh my gosh. Wow.
that need a mother's nurturing.
Oh wow.
He said, where you go?
Oh.
I go, what? He said, Liz, where you go? And then I heard him say, Liz, if you go, I promise you your sons will want for nothing. I would take care of your sons.
Wow.
As you take care of mine.
Wow.
Where you go. Child, I woke up out that dream and I know the next morning.
You were on that. You got a prison ministry I can get involved in.
I did. I went there and I called his city jail.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll be there.
Be there in 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Oh my goodness. What a word. I mean, how could you not say
I
no?
couldn't say no.
Oh wow. But it's amazing. He spoke it to you years prior. He gave you he gave time to let that seed really take root. And then at just the perfect time, he was like, okay, we need to let that seed grow and produce some fruit.
And sure enough, both of my sons, they are those mighty men of God. But it was because of my obedience to God.
Amen. Amen.
They are. Oh, they are loving husbands. Wonderful fathers. Oh, they take such pride and joy in being a father and
That's awesome.
being a husband. You know, it's,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's like, they said, Mama, we learn from the best.
Oh, that's sweet. The word says they will rise up and call her blessed. Praise the
Right,
Lord.
ain't that something?
Praise the
But
Lord.
the-
The
but the-
scripture's coming to life.
It did. It came to life. And like I said, between the two of them, they have went to 6 different colleges and have graduated. Well, one is
Right.
getting ready to graduate from William and Murray.
Wow.
So
Praise the Lord.
And
So that was part of the vision being fulfilled.
yeah.
And so you started doing that, but you didn't just stop there. You didn't just stop with going into the prisons and minister, and you took that vision and
I ran
you ran with it. You're doing so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit more about even beyond that. Like, what are you doing right now?
Okay, right now, what I am doing is I'm working with businesses to be able to get them to come in and teach the entrepreneurship,
Yes.
to teach classes, to teach them how to own their business. And I'm working with in fact, I just came from the jail to be able to go in and to teach classes in there again.
Wow.
I also went back to school to George Mason University, and I actually wrote my own the Father actually opened that door for
Yes.
me to go to George Mason
Wow.
at the age of 60 years old. Come on, girl. But this is
Never too late.
But this is what he told me. He said, when I was healed, when he healed me of AIDS, he told me, he said, Liz, not only am I going to heal you of AIDS, but he said, I'm going to turn back the years,
Wow.
20 years, and I'm going to give you the energy to do everything I have called you to do.
Wow.
So one of those things was to go back to school. Oh, child, I had a ball. I had a ball at George Mason University.
Oh, I bet.
I started a social entrepreneurship program there on George Mason University. I had my professors to actually, to endorse it, to support me with that.
Wow.
And I even had the president of the school to help me, to come and say, yes, he endorsed it. And so we had like musical festivals, and it was college students doing this.
Oh, wow.
And I guess I was the student, but at the same time I was like that professor.
Right. Well, they looked up to you
They
because
looked-
you were a little bit older than they were.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a little bit.
Just a little bit.
a little bit.
But so that came up with the other program in which the college students was the mentor.
Right, so it was like God had you there to make that connection.
Connection.
So when you started this mentor program, you had those connections to those college students that want to come in and help.
Yes.
Right? And this is like a continuing healing process, really. So the kids come out of like the juvenile detention, and then a lot of times they're like, what now?
What now? Where do I go?
Where do I
from?
go? What do I do?
But
Yeah.
by the college students going in
Yeah.
and develop a relationship with them. In fact, that's what a group of the college students that I had went into the Department of Juvenile Justice and met with the director, Mr. Block, and told him, we want to be able to come in and be able to mentor them
Right.
whilst they're there, and then when they come out, they can be able to be transitioned, and we can help them to be able to get back into school, get jobs,
Amen.
and these college students went and presented that.
Wow.
And God opened that door as well.
God is so good.
God opened that door
God
as
is
well.
So good. Oh my
Mhm.
God. I feel like I don't even know if there's a scripture, but I know the context that I want to say when the word says there's purpose for our pain, and I think about Jesus, and I think about just the pain that he endured while he was here on earth, the pain that he endured, obviously, when he died on the cross, and that there was a purpose for his pain. It was a much greater purpose, and that was the salvation for all humanity, that all would come to the saving grace of Jesus Christ through the shedding of his blood. So I listen to your story, and I think about, even though you went through such heartache and you went through such pain, there was a greater purpose for all of that, because not only are you doing all that you're doing now, but God is able to use that testimony, I'm sure, to reach these young children that go through really similar hurts. Now, maybe they haven't experienced AIDS, but the intensity of their hurt
Hurts.
probably equals the intensity of your hurt finding out you had this disease, finding out you got it from your husband who you knew God had put you with, and then having to go through the healing process and all of that. So I don't know, I just think about that and I'm like, wow, what an amazing purpose and plan that he's had for your life. And even though you had to go through all of that, how he is really letting your light shine in that community now, which is really a dark place.
It is. It really is. It was something because this is what happened. I remember that morning when I was laying there and I was just talking to the Lord about, me being, having AIDS. And then that's when he told me, he said, I'm turning AIDS to assisting in deliverance and salvation.
Woo!
That's the AID.
Yes.
He said, I'm turning it to. And I said, okay, Lord, so how are we going to do this? He said, through the job readiness program. And I said, okay, Lord. All right, but you know what I found out? During that time, I was being healed myself.
Wow.
From not only AIDS, but my feeling as far as men was concerned.
Right. Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, we never understand really
Yeah.
I think when we're in the midst of going through stuff like that, like we don't really understand why we're going through that. But God knows exactly what we need and when we need it.
And so right now it's like I have that ability to be able to minister to men, but at the same time not really come emotional involved.
Right.
Because during that time, what I'm thinking about is this is a ministry,
Right.
and this is for the glory of God.
Yes.
So it's like I got lost into this ministry right now. So you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, it is only through God that I know that I'm able to do this.
Right.
Compared to the way it
Right.
was and the way it is now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. Well, let's do one more question and then we're going to wrap it up. So God's turned back the clock 20 years for you. So you have the energy of somebody in their 40s. And you've got, the outlook of somebody in their 40s. So are you open to dating again and getting remarried?
Yes, I am. I would love if the Lord would bring me somebody that would be able to say, help me do this ministry,
Yeah.
And we'll have that same love and passion and we'll want to do that.
Awesome.
So.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, I just love. Well, thank you so much, Liz. Oh my gosh, guys, we're just so excited to be able to continue to share our stories and our hearts with you. And we thank you for sending in your questions. And if you have any more questions for Liz, you can email them here on our YouTube channel at amysamuelministries@gmail.com. And she will be glad to answer them for you. And we'll be seeing you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.